with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your bodies and in your spirit, which are God's. So in other words, we belong to God, and we need to glorify God in our bodies, right? So as a church, it is our responsibility to tell you or tell us how best we can take care of our bodies, which are the temple of the Lord. Right? So this evening we have decided, well, Sister Sherman and I were working on this over here now. And we finally have her, and it is my distinct privilege to welcome our own. Sometimes we don't big up our own, but I'm extremely proud of her. Sister Sherman Charles. She went to Bethesda Primary School, then went on to what she considers the best school in Tobago, Bishop's High School. And then she went on to USC, CSC, which is the best school in Trinidad and Tobago, the best university. And she is now one of the top counselors. And we are honored that she's from our little church here in Plymouth. Are you proud? Yes. And she goes all over Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes you see her on TV and so on. And this evening it is our privilege to sit and listen to her as she brings some pertinent information. So let's put our hands and feet together as we welcome our own Sister Sherman Charles. We welcome Pastor in our midst. You snuck in.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. All right. So even while I present, say a prayer in your hearts. I'm battling a migraine. I'm on day 3, so I'm not of the best of health. But I'm hoping that, as I present that, that you receive a message. Usually when I start these presentations, I would normally ask, how many of you all, we normally go to primary schools or high schools, and we'll normally ask, how many of you all have ever used a drug before? And the amount of hands that would be raised most hands are raised in secondary schools, and quite a bit of hands are raised in primary schools as well. And so we realize that children are using these substances at a much earlier age. And what we also realize is that it isn't, it's sort of like cancer. Cancer is no respecter of person. No matter who you are, you could get it. And we realize with substance use, nobody is safe. Within our churches and out of our churches, we realize that substance use is indeed a problem. So I'm hoping that even as the information that I will be giving to you guys, that, it will help you, particularly our youths, to make healthy choices when it comes to taking care of their bodies. All right? So I'm going to give a story, and then I'm going to ask for feedback from the story. So there was this girl who grew up in church. She grew up in church from birth. She didn't know anything else about church. And she decided that she'll go down to school and she'll go to the Christian University, which is USC. And that was where she decided to experiment with alcohol. So she decided that, the first time I try this thing, I'm going to try something quote-unquote soft. And so she drank Smirnoff. She was sitting on some random thing. And, everybody talks about alcohol and how it gives you a high, and she drank the Smirnoff, nothing happened. She drank a second one, nothing happened. A third, nothing happened. So she decided to upgrade. And she was like, I'm going to try punching. Let me tell you all heard about punching before. Yeah, so she decided that's what I'm going to try, punching. And so she drank it, and she thought that she was fine until she stood up. And the next thing she remembered is that she was waking up on her dorm. So between when she drank and when she reached the dorm, she didn't know what happened. Confusion. And so her friends had to update her on the drama that happened between her leaving the place and getting to the dorm. Vomiting, falling down in crepe, lying down on the campus floor, had to call some friends to help her up and all these kinds of things. And that was her very first experience with substance use. Let me hear the thoughts. Have you ever heard of a story like that before? A good church girl. Yeah, a good church girl. Try something. You all heard that story before, right? What is the scariest part of that story to anybody? Yes? The time in between. Yeah. That time lost. What could have happened between then? Anybody? A young person? What could have happened to her? Anybody could answer? She could have been abused. She could have been kidnapped, raped. All these different things. So that was my story. Yeah, look at Keisha's eyes. Ah. That was my story of my first experience with alcohol. And sometimes we feel as though because, we grow our children up in church and we teach them the right things, that they don't feel the need to experiment. And sometimes it's not just alcohol, it's some set of random different things. And so we have to ensure that our children get the right information. A lot of times we don't like to talk about these things because I heard the mantra, if you talk to them about it, they will want to go and try it. Yes? If you talk to them about sex, they will want to go and try it. If you talk to them about drugs, they will want to go and try it. But why we're here this afternoon is to ensure that the young people, even Khalil, gets the right information so that when he decides to make a choice, he will make it from a well-informed position. Amen? So my first question is, easy question. What is a drug? Anybody? Yes, Khalil?
A drug is something that is kind of like tablets, and when you take it, you can start to act weird and act like you're angry, and then start doing all kind of things.
Okay. So something like tablet, it makes you act weird, makes you do all kind of things. Anybody else? When you hear drug, what do you think about? Panadol, medicine, yes. So the simple definition of a drug is any substance outside of food and water that changes the way your body works. So Panadol is a drug because Panadol changes the way your body works. What else? Panadol multi-symptom, the cough medications, they are also drugs because they change the way your body works. Now, are all drugs bad for you? No. Tell me some good drugs. Y'all have to talk about that. Yeah. So, no, that's food. Panadol, CJ. Fish oil, well, that's a supplement. Nia. Painkillers. So we have the quote-unquote good drugs. And what would you consider are the bad drugs? Cocaine, weed, tobacco. Right. So there are good drugs that you could use and they end up being bad for you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yes? So we have those good drugs like the medication, whether prescribed or over the counter. And then we have those dangerous drugs as we call them. So we have alcohol, we have tobacco, we have cocaine, and we have marijuana. Could anybody tell me what are the two main drugs that are used in Tobago? What is the correct name for weed? Marijuana. And the second one is alcohol. Marijuana and alcohol are the two main drugs that are used in Tobago. In our schools, however, we realize that persons are mixing tobacco with the marijuana. So you hear persons talk about roll on. You all ever heard about that, right? So they have the cigarettes and they roll on the weed to the cigarette, so they're getting both. And then we also have persons that are using the vape pens now, where you can use your nicotine oil and your marijuana oil and you can get the same effect. So the two main drugs used in Tobago are what? Marijuana and alcohol. And then we have these very, very smart young people that are able to create their own drugs from simple medication. So they will take a cough medication and mix it with something, and it will give you an high. So codeine, you all hear about codeine? They'll mix codeine with what? Alcohol. You all don't know what these things? Please be informed. Because codeine is a cough medication, eh? So they will just say the codeine, mix it with alcohol, and it's a drug. It will get you high. And most times they would use that as a date rape drug. Yeah? So the codeine kind of makes you drowsy and makes you kind of loose, and then the alcohol kind of has the same effect. Yes? Yes, Brother Julian? Yes. So you all do know that most of your cough medications have some level of alcohol in it, right? Yes? Yes. Right? Ferrol and these things have some level of alcohol in it, right? It's just that some are more potent than others, right? So we have persons using that. They're also using some very strong pain medication. So when I had my surgery, the best pain medication was Tramadol, because Tramadol would give you a high. So persons, and you can get Tramadol over the counter. So you could go, get your Tramadol, take it with some alcohol, and you're good to go with your high. Yes? So parents, I want you to be aware of the different ways that young people could use the over-the-counter medication to get high. Right? But I want to talk a little bit now about alcohol. Give me some names of some alcoholic drinks. Vodka, puncheon, anybody else? What's that? White Oak, Shandy. Shandy, what else? Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, right? And we realize Shandy now has how much percent alcohol in it? No, 0.75. And what they are doing is they keep reducing the level of alcohol in Shandy to make it more amenable to the children. Yeah, so Shandy used to have 2 point something, and they've dropped it down to 0.75. Right? Great. So all these drinks, tell me, have you ever seen somebody drunk before? How do they look? How do they behave? Abusive? How do they move? Wobbly, slow, sluggish. They can't talk properly. And that's what we call alcohol is a depressant. It's a what? Which means that it slows down the brain. So that's why they always advise persons not to drink and drive, because your reaction time is slower than it will normally be. So, and sometimes, you might be going at a certain speed, and you had to mash brakes, but instead of mash brakes, you mash what? Gas. Right? So alcohol, the main organ that these drugs affect is the brain. What's the main organ? And what does the brain control? Everything. It controls your emotions. It controls the way you think. It controls the way you're able to understand things. It controls your bodily functions, your reflexes, and all those things. And alcohol slows down those things. So you're not able to think as clearly. You're not able to move as swiftly. You're not able to talk as clearly. What is the other main organ that alcohol affects? Anybody knows? What's that? Anybody can explain how it affects the liver? What does the liver do? It what? It filters. Now your body recognizes alcohol as a poison. As a what? So your liver has to flush it out, which is why the more you drink, the more you urinate. Because your body is trying to get rid of it. What happens is for persons who drink over a long period of time, your liver is not able to get rid of the alcohol as soon as it could. So those of you all who have drunk alcohol before, maybe it's just me, I don't know, it gives you a burning sensation in your throat, especially if it's very strong. So like punching, terrible, right? Imagine that burning sensation on your liver. And that is why a lot of persons have cirrhosis. What's that? So your liver basically burns. And the same way when something burns, it gets black. And when you crush it, it kind of comes to dust. Ashy? That is what happens to your liver when you drink too much alcohol. And what we see a lot of young people doing is that they are binge drinking. They are what? So they're not drinking all the time, but this special weekend, they're going to drink a lot. And not just a lot, they're going to drink a lot of different things. So they're going to mix, they're going to do a lot of cocktails, then they're going to try a Bailey's, try punching, and they're drinking a lot over an extended period of time. And what we realize is that a lot of these children end up with alcohol poisoning. What's that? So you see how I went down Curep? Drink, and vomit down the place? Alcohol poisoning could have that effect. And also you could end up in a coma. Because your body basically shuts down. Because remember, your body views alcohol as a what? So you're poisoning your body. Your organs starting to shut down. Right? So what is the first and most common drug used by you today? It is what? Alcohol. Any questions so far or comments? So y'all can stop me at any time, eh? You were saying something? No? Okay, great. So the second one is what? Marijuana. And that's everybody's favorite. Why? Why do people think that marijuana is okay to use? Because it's a herb. But do you know that all drugs come from a plant, right? So alcohol comes from what? Different fruits, wheat, oats. Cocaine comes from coca plant. And tobacco comes from a tobacco plant as well. So sometimes when the young people say, it comes from a plant, you have to tell them, like, all drugs come from a plant, eh? All drugs come from a plant. Right? Yes. Yes, and caffeine in itself. And we had to talk a little bit about caffeine because all the love a Red Bull and these nonsense. Yes? Caffeine is also very addictive. And so what we realize now is young people not smoking weed as much as they used to. It doesn't look at school. So what are they doing now? What's that? No, something else. What are they calling those things? Edibles. And edibles are so tricky. CJ could bring home a brownie and he will never know it's an edible. Because it looks like a kid that could bring home gummies. And he will never know because it looks like gummies. They're going to be charged. Yes? So a lot of these young children are getting involved in the edibles. And the edibles are far worse than smoking. Could anybody tell me why they think that is? Yeah. It goes directly to your bloodstream. When you smoke it, It takes a while to get directly to your bloodstream, but when you eat it, that's where it goes. And not only that, coupled with that is that nobody knows how much weed they are putting in these things. And weed is one of those drugs that affects everybody differently. So Keisha might take weed and be normal. And then who is that? Curtis might take it. And Curtis might chip off. Or Sherry's might take it and be crying and screaming down the place. And then Akil take it and everything is a joke. Laughing when they're supposed to be crying. Sherry's crying when she's supposed to be laughing. Because marijuana is one of those things that affects everybody differently. And it's one of those things that causes your brain cells to die. Causes it to do what? Die. Now, for young people, at what age does your brain stop developing? 18. Anybody else? 31. Oh Lord. 20. 21. Research has now said it's between 21 and 24. Which is why in the United States, you can only drink at what age? 21. Because they realize your brain is not fully developed. Now, when a young person, when CJ decides to smoke weed, and it damages his brain, and his brain is not yet developed, what happens? Something that's supposed to be developing right, don't develop right. And when you start to lose function in your brain, that's a long-term thing. So we have a lot of children that might be good in school smoking, you know. Some of children, you will hear them say, when I smoke, that is when I study better. Or when I smoke, that is when I remember things better. But check up on those people in about the next 10 years as they continue to smoke. Not able to concentrate in work. Sometimes they're doing work. Something they're supposed to know how to do, they can't remember. So what happens with weed and why weed, marijuana is so dangerous is that the effects, the serious effects are long term. Mm-hmm. 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 No, because sometimes persons don't want to be heard and so why? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I want to jump on the medicinal purposes. So, research has shown, and it has been fact, that marijuana has medicinal, yes. But what happens is, so there is something in marijuana called THC. That is what has caused all the problems. The addiction and the negative side effects. What scientists have been able to do is take that out of the marijuana and essentially take the bad out and leave the good, which is what can be used for medicine. But like every single medication you take, you always get what? Always get what? So those persons who are on diabetes medication long term, what is the first organ that fails after? Your kidneys. And so that is what I want you all to understand. Are you willing to take the risk of the side effects? Brain injury. You getting high, like me getting drunk, and unaware of what is going on around you, somebody could take advantage of you. Are you willing to take that risk? Yes? So that is what marijuana is. I want parents to be alert. When your children bring home these random snacks, ask them where they get it from. Advise your children not to take snacks from any and everybody, especially people who willingly offer snacks. But it's the thing, what happened? Children don't like to give away things. They don't like to do that. So when you're in high school, see you're in high school, and this one person harassing you to take this brownie and you don't want to take it, be cautious. Yes? Because the substance use is not as it was when it was back in our day. Yeah? Any questions or comments about marijuana? Yes, so we'll talk about that when I move on to tobacco. Yes, Sister Roxanne. Repeat? So this is a talking back session, eh? I don't know everything. A lot of the information I got from high schoolers. So I didn't know about roll on, roll off until I went, roll on, sorry, until I went to the high school. So we were sharing information. Don't think I know everything because I don't. Yeah? Yeah, so and sometimes it doesn't even have to be laced, eh? So if it's that you have a mental illness gene, so for example, Auntie Linda was, I think, schizophrenic. That's Granny's first daughter. You don't know if that gene in your family. You decide to go and smoke, it triggers it. So there's that, and then there's drug-induced psychosis, which is kind of different because when you stop using these substances, you tend to get back to normal. But a lot of the cases, that is not what happens with most persons. And so you have to be careful even as you're, well, normally we had to do harm reduction, which is tell people how to safely use, but for us, we're not going to use at all. Yeah? Any other questions or anything you think I left out you want to mention about marijuana use? No? Okay. So remember, if you have any questions or comments, just raise your hand. So the next one we have is tobacco, which is the worst of the worst. And Curtis spoke about the decriminalization of marijuana. Not legalization, decriminalization, which means there are certain laws that guide your use. And that is why persons are using closer to home and not far away, because using in public is illegal. So they'll use at home, but you can't go down by the beach and use. If they catch you, you get charged. And what is surprising is, what is sad is that just now they're going to legalize it. Because alcohol should be classed as a dangerous drug, just as weed is, and it's legal. So we ought to train our children because we don't have control over that. It costs less money on the government to allow persons to use weed. Because the amount of them in jail for weed, we ought to feed them every day and so forth and so forth. Yeah? So unfortunately, that will be the direction we're going just now. So you have to ensure that you talk to your children and you train them in the best way possible so they can make proper decisions. All right? So we have tobacco. Where is tobacco found? In what thing? Cigarettes, cigars, the vaping, the hookahs. What's that? Tobacco is the name after tobacco. We're supposed to be okay with it, yes? And tobacco is one of those things you will never see somebody advertising tobacco use. You'll never see an ad for it, nowhere. Because persons have realized it's so dangerous that you're not supposed to be advertising it in any way, shape, or form. And I wish that we could reach that level with alcohol, to be very fair and honest. Because a lot of the accidents we have where persons dying is because persons would have been drinking. But that's a story for another day. So we have children who are now using these vape pens. And I bought a vape pen, but I forgot it at home. So it looks like, some of them look like a pen. Some of them look like just any random thing. So it doesn't look as if the person is actually smoking. And what happens with these vape pens and these oils is that they're flavored. So you have peppermint, you have bubble gum, you have the fruity flavors. So, yeah, Khalil knows. That's good actually. Yeah, that's good actually because some children has get hooked with it because a child who was in high school said to me, what they have in the vape pen is water. So I'm like, why are you vaping water? Where's the point of that? When Miss I don't know, it does look good. So you just think it's water in your vape pen, that's all? Never to know it's nicotine. And that is something we have a lot in our high schools. Because it looks cooler, it doesn't smell as bad. Has anyone been around somebody who does be smoking? Their breath smells bad, they smell bad, right? So we have to encourage our people that even though it doesn't look as cool, it's just as dangerous. And we've heard of all these instances where persons' lungs collapse and where they have heart attack from using these vape pens. And then we have the secondhand smoke. Mm-hmm. So I cannot, I'm being honest. The medical part of it, I don't fully understand. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you all. I will send a link for you all in the chat. I can't explain it to you all. I'm so sorry. I'm not a medical person. Yes? But we have to let persons understand, because what persons feel as though is if I use it in a different way, it's safer. If I eat the weed instead of smoking it, it's safer. If I vape instead of smoking a cigarette, it's safer. And we have to understand that once that substance enters your body, you're going to have that negative effect. But I want to talk on the secondhand smoke. Because it does feel to seem as though once I smoke in, my child is safe. Secondhand smoke is worse than you smoking. Why? Because you smoke, you let it, remember your lungs filtering and pushing out what is bad. So you're getting smoke from the cigarettes and the waste from the person's body. And not just that, but some crazy people will want to smoke, throw away the cigarettes, and then take Celine's son and hold him. And when you smell the clothes and the hair, or if they just leave a room, that smoke is still in there. And that's what we call third-hand smoke. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we come off stream, I'm going to talk about how I feel about this program being streamed at another time. Because sometimes persons want to be free to express themselves without persons picking it up on the camera. Yeah? Because I just realized I talk about my business about my drunken episode, I might get this fellowship. But the pastor is here, so I'm safe. The pastor is here, so I'm safe. But I don't care. Because sometimes we like to pretend that we are wholly innocent. We are wholly innocent. And sometimes we all have our little episodes with these things. I'm telling you, I was really excited going on thing. I said, yes, it's the first time. Mommy and daddy didn't know. Well, daddy will never know because kick the bucket. But when mommy hear about that, well, it is what it is. Sure, it will save me. Yes, but I get you. So we'll try to do that as fast as possible. Yeah? So we have to be careful with allowing our children to be around persons who are smoking. I told somebody, I said, they wanted to hold somebody's child, and the person said, no, you need to bathe first. And I said, no, they need to wash your hair too, because the person had locks. And you ever walk through a fire and then bathe, and then when you smell your hair is smoke? So we need to be careful who we allow our children to be around. Persons who are smoking. And this secondhand smoke is not just tobacco, because a lot of persons feel as though Your lungs are not affected when you smoke weed. But just remember, you're allowing smoke into your lungs. That's not supposed to happen. At no point in time is smoke supposed to be entering your lungs willingly. So once you're allowing that to happen, your lungs are going to be affected. And a lot of the times you have persons who have lung cancer and they will say, but I never smoked before in my life. But they had a husband who was smoking, or a wife who was smoking, or a brother who was smoking, or a child who was smoking. A lot of older persons, or a co-worker who was smoking. And the co-worker good enough, but you get lung cancer and you're unsure what happens. So I would encourage you all, especially your children, stay away from persons who are smoking, whether it's be cigarettes or weed. Right? Neither of those two things are safe. Any questions when it comes to tobacco?
Just a comment, Sister Sherman. Some years ago, Christopher Reeves, he was the actor that used to be Superman. His wife, shortly after he passed away, his wife was diagnosed with lung cancer. And when they did all their research, he was not a smoker, she was not a smoker, but their circle of friends were smokers, and she eventually passed away from lung cancer.
Yep. I wish we could treat all drugs the way we treat tobacco, because there's a hierarchy of substance use. The worst of the worst is what? Yeah, out of the four: cocaine, marijuana, tobacco, alcohol. What is the worst of the worst? Cocaine. When you hear somebody on cocaine, somebody who is smoking weed will look down on somebody who's smoking cocaine. A crackhead? Me no crackhead, you know. I just smoke my weed. Me no crackhead, you know. Yeah? After cocaine is the tobacco. But the group that is favored is the marijuana users. Because it's a herb. And they say the herb is for the what? Yeah? And yes, go ahead.
So yes, the herb is the healing in nation, but we as Christians using it for tea. Is that right or wrong?
Somebody answer that. So we have the chronic pain people. And let me tell you, chronic pain people, somebody say, you know what? And then does never tell you how much weed to take, eh? There's never tell you, put 2 leaf of marijuana. Then tell you what grade to use. So you know you have different grades. You have different types. You don't know if to use it at what stage, dry, fresh.
And remember, Sister Sherman, you made a point earlier that everybody does not react the same. Everybody's body does not react the same.
Yes.
So you might drink the tea and you might end up worse than me.
Yeah. And I want everybody to know, let me dispel this myth. Marijuana can cure cancer. It cannot cure epilepsy. You know what epilepsy is, right? It's a brain disorder. I don't know why people just be telling people this nonsense. It cannot cure epilepsy. What marijuana does with persons who are in cancer, you're so high, you don't feel the pain. It helps with the nausea sometimes, but it is not a cure. So let me dispel that myth one time, because a lot of persons are not going for cancer treatment and smoking weed, thinking that they're going to be cured. Not even. There is this lady. The lady has lung cancer. Somebody told her weed would help. She's smoking the weed with lung cancer to help her be healed from her lung cancer. Not even drinking it, sir. Smoking it. Because once you hear use it, that's the first thing comes to mind. Let me smoke it. I don't know. Yeah? But I also want you to know that it is illegal to be using weed. Weed is not legalized. Decriminalized, yes, but not legalized. particularly for Keston and them, so no. So no matter what happens in the States, we have to abide by the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Maybe later on it might become as a medicine and maybe they'll take out the THC and all this drama. And if you want to take that risk, good luck to you, right? I am very, very afraid of weed. I'm afraid that I will chip off. Yes? So any other questions before I move on to the last two?
What about let us use this for hole, punching and zebra pip. Yeah. One of that and it knocks your cool out. But I believe it might knock somebody out who can't. I'm being honest, right? I became a Seventh-day Adventist. I knew about it so many times. When I get a bad cold, I just go by my uncle and just one cork and that's it. But I am not saying it's right. I am not saying it's wrong. But it does mean nothing. It just take away the sickness.
So we know it's punching, black pepper, lime, and salt. Yeah. And you mix it and you drink it. And whatever coal you have inside, you will hawk it up. Not so? Yes. All you know about that one though? Yeah, because all I tried though. Yes. All I tried? All right, well. I guess it's just me alone. I keep sure. But I'll answer your question.
We were speaking about some of these things this morning, and some of these things are cultural, traditional, but as Seventh-day Adventists, we need to be careful. The reason why they use the zebra pip, the medication is in the zebra pip. The reason why they use the punching is because alcohol is absorbed into your blood faster, right? So you could use the zebra pip along with your lime and whatever without the alcohol. And you will get the same results, it wouldn't be as fast.
Yeah, so Janine, and then I will do my final response on that.
A lot of the cough medicines and these things already have alcohol in it though. So that's why I could use it to make different drinks and all of these things. So there's so many medications that are already taken that have alcohol in it.
So that is what I was going to say. A person will say, me and taking the cough medicine, but I will take the punching. And they both have alcohol in them. Make sense. Now, I always say there are always healthier options. You see how we could find a herb for every single sickness? Roxanne gave me, when I had this bad cough, Roxanne gave me a kind of thing that to mix up. Didn't taste good, but it works. And we can always find a healthier alternative to this punching bomb. Yes, it works very well and quickly, but then the after effects is what you need to be worried about. The after effects, you start to feel drunk. You start to feel drowsy.
Outside
it also affects your brain as well.
Outside of that, we're saying that some of the cough medicine have alcohol. We don't have to buy the cough medicine with alcohol. There are other medication that don't have alcohol in it that works just as well. And when we start to take the cough medicine or whatever with alcohol, because it makes you feel good, you start to overuse it. And you become addicted to the medication and you want something stronger. So some people move on from the medication and they get addicted to alcohol because of the medication they would have taken with the alcohol that we're saying, oh, it's okay to use it because it's only a small percent. It starts small and it grows from there because not everyone have the propensity to be able to control themselves. So we have to be very careful with that.
And another thing with medication is that after you use medication, it stops working. So for me, I was Olfen. No, I started at Panadol, then Olfen, then Trabeline, then Tramacet, and I was like, this not working. So I used to be up in the hospital begging for morphine. Yeah? Was it the pain or was it the high they like? I don't know. I don't know for sure. Maybe it was both. Because I ain't gonna lie. When I was had to go out there for morphine on a regular, I was like, oh, so this is why persons like to feel high. Because when you lie down on the bed, you just feel real good. Now, when you get up and try to function, that is when all hell does break loose. Right? But I do agree with you. A lot of our medication has alcohol in them, but the percentage of alcohol in comparison to the punching is very, very low. What is the percentage of punching? 70 what? 75. No, don't buy punching. Take punching and just pour it on a counter. The speed that does evaporate. And people just be putting that in their body. It's better to drink rubbing alcohol. Because rubbing alcohol is 80% or rum. Yeah, I talking about I don't know, because I drink it. And I so stupid, eh? First time I drink it, I like, no, I want it straight. I want it straight. Just give me some ice. Clown behavior. Don't do that, guys. Right? Yeah? So we have to understand that the medication percentage of alcohol in comparison to, is nowhere close. It is nowhere close. And like I would tell persons, even when you're taking medication, even if a doctor prescribes it, check the side effects. So for example, I suffer with bad migraines, right? The only thing that works for migraines is Excedrin migraine. I was taking Excedrin migraine, 2 tablets 3 times a day. Check the bottle. I am supposed to be taking it no more than 2 tablets in 24 hours. Licking up my liver and my kidney. So that's why for every single medication a doctor gives you, no matter how good it is, please check your side effects. Because it might be helping you in one way, which is what a lot of persons will say. So weed calms them, helps them to deal with stress. Alcohol, the same thing. But even as you have these positive, quote-unquote, benefits, what are the side effects to go along with it? And on most times, the side effects are far worse. It overarching what the positive is. So persons say, I take weed to deal with stress. So you're stressed out, you take the weed, you come off the high, and the stress is still there. And then you're going back again. Because you're not dealing with what is stressing you out, eh? You're dealing with how you feel. Cope, that's it. Wonderful. You're trying to cope with it, but you're coping with it in a negative way. Now, I'm not going to say that when persons high, they don't think about the stress, because you don't, because you are high. But when that high goes away, is the stress not still there? And this is how addiction comes in, eh? Because every time stress happens, you have to smoke. You have to drink. And what happens is, after a while, your body starts to get tolerant. So what would get you high now, not going to get you high later on. So if I had continued drinking as I drink that first time, I would have been able to sit down and drink a good bottle of punch and nothing happened to me. And that's why cocaine is so bad. Because cocaine gets you high quickly, but it doesn't keep you high for long. Marijuana takes a while to get you high, and the high lasts a little longer, which is why cocaine is so addictive. Because you have to take cocaine far more often to get high than to remain high than you have to take marijuana. Yes? So I want us to be careful when even your regular medication, check your what? Side effects. So we're going to move on to something that a lot of young athletes like to take, and that is the energy drinks. So give me some names of energy drinks. Monster, Red Bull, Gatorade is not an energy drink. It gives you energy, but that's a sports drink. Sting, 5-hour energy, all those things. High in caffeine, high in sugar. So who is an athlete in here? Keston is an athlete? You should be an athlete. Your family is athletes. So Keston is the athlete. Keston running. When you run, what happens to your heart? Your heart, what? Races. And Keston decided, you know what? I need extra energy. So I'm going to take a Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings. And it also causes your heart to race. So you drink, your heart is racing. You're running, your heart is racing. Your heart has to work, what? Double time. Quarter time. We've all heard about these children who were running cross country and collapsing. Drinking Red Bull over a period of time and going around cross country. And has anybody ever tasted Red Bull? There's one thing, I'll do experiments in this church, that's good. It's terrible. I don't know what is in it. It is disgusting. But these children just go off on this thing. I think no, sure, you could tell me education had to ban that from being sold in canteens. Because canteens were selling these Red Bulls and all these kinds of things. Because there's no alcohol, but there's a high percentage of caffeine. Just like there's caffeine in Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Mountain Dew and thank you, coffee. Mm-hmm.
When Red Bull just came out, they told you how much you could drink within a 24-hour period, And I think they took that off the can. So it told you how much you can drink in a 24-hour period.
And I realized a lot of Seventh-day Adventists are drinking coffee. You see Starbucks and Ritual? Not all rituals, yeah. You have to know. But some of them go in and say, I would like to have a chai latte over ice or blended. A French coffee. Same caffeine in Red Bull is the same caffeine in coffee. I know of so many Adventists that they have a whole coffee set up home. Them is a barista. You know, with a little thing that does whatever, froth up, whatever. I don't know. I think we just forget that these things have caffeine in it. Yeah? And another thing that has caffeine in it, and this is something that I have to pray about, because I love this drink. You see Lucozade? You all know Lucozade has caffeine, right? Pray for me. That is my kryptonite. Because every time I feeling sick, my automatic thought does be, I need a Lucozade. Yeah, it does work. I need a Lucozade. Don't bring Gatorade near me, because you know Gatorade doesn't have caffeine. Don't bring it near me, but you see Lucozade, especially the purple cup one or the blue cup one, kryptonites. We all have our struggles. We have to pray about it. The Roman raisin, the Guinness. Some of them are artificial and some are not. Did you? Go ahead.
The Roman raisin ice cream, let me just make it clear once and for all, right? The ice cream itself is an artificial flavoring. But the raisins
It's what is soaked in the
are
alcohol.
soaked in the alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, but you all knew that, right? Because when you... Yeah. Yeah. Just like you could eat the black cake, but don't eat the raisins in the black cake, yeah? Because they saw the raisins in the thing. Yeah. But the very local homemade ones, they actually put alcohol in it, not just the thing. Because remember, alcohol is a good preservative, eh? Anything that has alcohol in it, you could keep it for a good while. It's a very good preservative as well. Yes? So be careful with those energy drinks. If you all want energy to run, coconut water, orange juice, sleep before the day done, Gatorade. Sleep before you race, Gatorade. Stay away from those energy drinks. And then we have our Zessa pills. You all never heard, I can't believe you all never heard about these things. No, that is not, no. The reason why, to me, it is concerning when you don't know is because it could bypass your house. They are the prettiest looking medication you will ever see. They have these nice pastel colors. Does look like these chewable, kind of chalky chewable vitamins. Yes. So what I do is they mix ecstasy and just some random pills. If I feel like ecstasy and cocaine, I do that. If I feel like ecstasy and fentanyl, I do that. And you make it into a pill and you swallow it. Most times these are found in these high-end parties, these raves. We even had a situation where there was this big bash, these high-end, these rich people. And what the children had to do is bring a bag of medication from home, mix it in a bowl, and then you get to scoop out. So you got to pick any four, and you swallow it, and whatever happens, happens. So children were raiding their parents' medication to go to that party. That was the entrance. You had to bring a bag of medication. So sometimes you might realize this is the medication I'm supposed to take. This is seizure medications and very strong pain medications. And you realize your medication just going down, but you're not taking it. Be cautious. I wouldn't say a rat going away with it, but be cautious. Because everything that has a good, the devil can make you use it for bad. You think God bring marijuana and was like, yeah, this is what marijuana is used for? Tobacco? No. But for every good thing, the devil finds some way to make it bad. And so that's why as parents, why is Josiah sleeping? As parents, we have to ensure that we know these things. It's never good to not know. It is never good to not know. Because your children will know. They are going to school, and no matter whether your children going to the Adventist school or the non-Adventist school, they will know. They will find out. And you want to be able to educate them correctly before somebody educates them or gives them the wrong information. So I want to do your research.
So somebody on the stream who, well, I know WhatsApp me, to share their experience. They took a 5-hour power pill in college to study for exam and it worked. But by the time exam was finished, they crashed and slept over 16 hours.
So you all know about that crash, right? Because you need to sleep.
As you mentioned, Josiah, just now, just yesterday or this morning, last night, Josiah and I was having a conversation about caffeine. Yeah, because he was having a headache and he wanted to sleep because, his workload is extremely heavy at school. And he come in the kitchen and asked me about caffeine. So I was like, will you ask me about caffeine for? What do you want to know about caffeine for? So then he started to explain to me, and I had to explain to him that caffeine is not good for your body, what it does, and all the drinks that have caffeine in it that I would like for him to stay away from. Yeah, and he said yes, mommy. You know them don't give me trouble, so.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the alcohol, and we talk a lot about the weed, but we just bypass caffeine. Yeah. Because it works, it keeps you up, you know. Let me be frank. It keeps you up. But it keeps you up when you're not supposed to be up. Sleep deprivation is not healthy. And the crash is not you sleeping properly, it is your body shutting down. And then you had to, even when you wake up, it takes a while for you to catch yourself. When you could have just go and sleep, take a few hours, get up and go again. So I want parents to be mindful of that. So we have the alcohol that is an issue. And the reason why substance use is an issue in our community is because we are a very pro-drug community. Alcohol is used everywhere. Funeral, christening, wedding, harvest, birthday party, everywhere. Everywhere. You could walk into a harvest, which is why I don't like harvest at all, because I have seen children walking out the road from harvest with beer bottles. Because you could just go and pick up and go with it. We have become very pro-weed because weed is the healthiest and the safest drug on the market. Yes? Everybody who use weed as her heights could write a song better, could study better. And then we have all our celebrities using weed. Snoop Dogg, Rihanna, Beyonce, everybody smoking weed. So it looks, and these Cayman Six and all these Trinidad artists. So it looks cool. And then we have the tobacco through the vaping. Because it looks good when you have a vape. You look cool. You look like you're in the in thing. And then you have this cocaine being snuck in when you're taking your weed or when you go to a party and they give you as a pill. And then we have the young ladies who mostly using the edibles because it looks good. And so we have to ensure that we remind our people where the church stands with substance use. Because a lot of times we don't remind them about the church's stance. So I always say, when I speak to young children, I write them about the law. You are under 18, you're not supposed to be using, full stop. As a church, we have our standard. No drug use, no stimulants. No alcohol. We have to teach them that stance. And we have to encourage them that alcohol affects you not just physically. A lot of children who drop out of school smoking weed. And if they're not smoking weed, they're selling it. And that's a big thing in schools now. They're not smoking it in school, but they're selling it for whoever on the outside. Yes. So we have to have the knowledge. We have to talk to our children about it. As Seventh-day Adventists, we have this way that we don't like to talk to the children about it. We don't want to talk to them about sex. We don't want to talk to them about alcohol. I don't remember, did Daddy ever talk to me about alcohol? I think the only thing Daddy said was not to use it. But then, you know, as young people, we like to experiment. So down in college was where I wanted to experiment. Daddy wasn't around. He couldn't see me. He couldn't buff me. Thank God, nothing happened. Because imagine, Joy and Samuel up here, they call them, your daughter in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. And we don't want to hear that with our children. We don't want to hear that at all. Go ahead.
A correlation. A lot of the music that we are attracted to encourages us to drink, specifically chutney. Everything about chutney is rum. And other music is smoke, especially the weed. A lot of the songs encourage you, and those are the songs that most of our youths are attracted to now, today.
Yeah. The same songs that we were attracted to back then, Buju and Beanie Man and all these people. Let us not act like them songs now come out. Like our songs never talk about sex and alcohol and weed. Let's be real. We had our time and they have their time now. So we have to make sure that we educate them. And another thing I want, yes, Kishon?
Well, you're talking about song and not strain, but how old you knew about electric slide, by the way? Just go ahead.
That's another topic altogether. And what I also want to encourage you young people to do, right? If it's it, or somebody wants to say something? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, so I know we're talking about we had our time and they had our time. But the thing about it is when we had our time, we had different mindsets and different teaching. So the time we had, we know not to slip up because certain things then passing, you walking on the road and somebody seen you and you know you can't pass them. That neighbor seen you, that one down there, everybody seen you. So in you having the different songs and stuff and you taking part in that, you had a different mindset with doing it. So you wanna study to run on the road and drink alcohol because you know if Auntie Mary down the road say or this one say you can't pass. But now everybody for themselves. So the mindset that we have now and the music that they're listening to now, it's better for you to be open and honest with your children, make sure they understand. And at the end of the day, you can't stop them, but you need to teach them so when they make certain decisions, then they could say, yeah, I'm not about this life because they're good, they're going to experiment. But at the end of the day, with the experiment, they can make the conscious decision to say, well, you know what? This is not for me. I understand what Mommy was saying or understand what Auntie was saying.
Thank you, and that's a big point. We just mind our own business. And I don't know if that's a good thing. Because I just mind them nieces and nephews is not mine, I'm minding their business. And this one here, I for sure minding CJ business. And me and business where your father and mother say. I'm minding his business. Yes? But that's another topic for another day. So we looking to wrap up. And I have a thing to show them children, and then we will whatever.
Sister Sherman, and even as we teach them about the different drugs, the alcohol, as the sister would have said in front, knowing to say no. You know, a lot of our children have friends who are not Christians or of the same faith with them, who not of this will drink and stuff and thing. And believe it or not, we have a lot of Seventh-day Adventist children liming together and also doing nonsense together. We have to teach our children, not because they're doing it and it tells them, well, all are we going to church again and they're doing it. It's probably okay, I could do it. We have to teach our children. It's wrong. Stand up. Be the one to stand up. As I always tell my boys and them, don't just stand up, stand out. Be the one to say no. Don't let them laugh at you and tell you you're stupid, you're soft and thing. Stand up. You might be the one to influence somebody else and save a life. So don't follow the crowd.
Yes, and we have to do more of these presentations because that whole saying no, that could take up a whole 2 hours again. So we have to look at getting a presentation on teaching good life skills.
Okay, good evening and happy Sabbath to everyone. Before I leave, I had to be here this afternoon because when I saw the program being advertised for AY, I said I needed to be here. And let me compliment the AY leader, Sister Sherman, for actually doing this exercise this afternoon because it's relevant. You know, sometimes as SDAs, we hide our heads in the sand, you know, and we think we are immune to these things, and we are not immune. We are not immune, and we need to be real. We live in a real world, and these things are affecting our young people. Sometimes they come home and they would not say anything, and we think everything is all right, and it's not. Things are happening in our schools, and we try to cover it instead of actually treating with, So I am very happy that here at Plymouth, you were brave enough to actually treat with the issue, all right, and share the information with our younger ones so that they would know exactly how, when they are confronted by it, how they can treat with it. I like the text that was used. Your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, and indeed your bodies are the temple, of the Holy Ghost, and therefore it is important that you treat this body and you treat it well. So let me thank you all again for taking the opportunity to do such, and this is the kind of AY that makes sense. It's relevant.
And thank you for being here, Pastor. Any other points or comments before I close?
So I have a story to give. When I finished high school, I went to Costard, and there I met a group of persons who became really good friends. So we assisted each other in doing our schoolwork where I don't understand. He may fill in, or next person may fill in, and we assist each other. And there was this particular guy. Now, when we were going Costard, it was part-time, so we had jobs and we went to school on afternoons. So he was and he was on top of his class. He graduated first place in doing, was it first grade and something else. He graduated top of his class, right? And I realized that not only his part-time job, he also graduated, you just get accreditations. So like he was top of, and many courses that we did, he was top of the class. So this one semester I realized, okay, class start back, I didn't see him. I tried calling the phone, I didn't get on to him. But then I remember when I was leaving class, some days I dropped him home so I know where he lived. So after a night when I was leaving class, I said, let me just pass there to see what is going on with him. And when I passed there and I asked, I called in his name, nobody came outside. Eventually, a little boy came out, was his brother. He said, okay, I will call my mommy here. When the mommy came outside, she said, so you don't know what happened? I said, no, what happened? She said, he's in the madhouse. I said, what happened? What happened? She said that he was under some pressure and decided to take a smoke. And the smoke was marijuana. In the marijuana, whoever he purchased it from was also dealing with cocaine. And the mixture of the marijuana and the cocaine immediately chipped him off. And for today, he's still crazy. Now, he was a person I told you graduated top of his class. His job, he was on top. And for today, I know many persons know him. He's still mentally crazy. Youths, be careful. Sometimes it might just be the first pull that a friend might encourage you all to do. But as she was saying, sometimes we don't know how these things interact with our bodies. And you don't know, as he was saying, the supplier was also dealing with cocaine as well, and there was a mixture. And he never catch himself after that. I have a cousin as well, same thing. He immediately got a seizure. For today, he barely knows his mother, he barely knows who's his sister, and I mean, this is persons he grew up around, always around. He could barely talk. He can't add, he can't, a whole lot of things. So there's a lot of long-term effects. Some persons may take it and it's quite okay with them, but there are some, it's really dangerous and it definitely harms them in a very long-term way. So be careful of the choices you're making. Don't take that one pull. That one pull might cost you your life. That
is a good way to seg you to the end. a lot of persons, as Sister Vanessa gave that thing, a lot of persons could say, but I know persons who that didn't happen to. Are you willing to risk that you are one of those persons it happens to? I mean, I went and had my drunken episode down in CUC, and I got back to campus fine. But I could have been one of those persons because I didn't know what happened between CUREP and CUC. I could have been one of those persons that was raped. I could have been one of those persons end up in hospital with alcohol poisoning. So you have to, and I'm encouraging all the young people, that is not a risk worth taking. The negative effects are too great. Yes?
Yeah, just two things. Now, I see the importance of having really good family structures where you could develop a trusting relationship with your children, and not just trusting, well, you want an entire environment of love, so they would feel open to talk and ask any question. See, that really, really important. Shimin, you would have the data that will show a lot of broken families, and we're not talking about mother and father together, and that's a good family structure. We're talking about neglecting children and having them like living however they choose. You find those things really high. So having a really secure family structure that you could promote love and trust, that would be open, I think is really important also. My experience is choosing your friends properly. I had some friends that used to engage. They used to do all kind of things, but they used to call me to come along with them, not to try to get me to do it. They will ask me if I want to take part, but because I was adamant that that's not my lifestyle, but I was the one that would be like the conscience to them, that would, when they're really overdoing stuff, would tell them, here, well, or you're going too far with this. So they were happy to have me along. But still, having them, if I had a weak mind, I would have been somewhere else for today. But so choosing your friends is a very important thing. And you mentioned it, while in custody, you became friends with persons. So is actually paying attention who you become friends with also.
And lastly, I want to let parents know that even if your child using, all hope is not lost. You know, sometimes we like to cast aside our children, and we like to beat down on them. So, Lord, I can't even say, because I feel if daddy had found out about me, when he find out, how would I get buff up and say. But sometimes we tend to be hard. And we rough them up in such a way, after we find out whatever it is they do, they drink, they smoke, they make a child out of wedlock, we rough them up so much that they're not comfortable coming to us about anything. But they will align themselves with persons who will encourage them to continue doing what they want to do. Talk to your children, be firm, but talk to them in love. If you realize that they have a problem, don't feel as though all is lost. Find out why is it they are using. Some persons like me experimenting, because I was a good girl, shipping. Other persons very, very stressed out. They can't deal with a situation, so they go into that. Some persons just feel as though they don't belong nowhere. And the group that they feel as though they belong to is the group that is smoking or drinking. And that is what part of drug treatment is, finding the cause, dealing with the cause to prevent the behavior. So I want the young people to know that if you may be one of those persons like me who are experimenting or experimented, you can stop. We don't want you to get the point where you become tolerant or where you become addicted. But as far as possible, if you have not started, stay away from in all forms. Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, cocaine, caffeine, ecstasy, in all forms. Right? Your body is a temple of, and you have to respect God with your, And that means to ensure that whatever you put in your bodies is healthy and is good. I had a second part to it, but time going. So we'll do that another time, talking about how addiction affects the family and what you can do and so forth. We're going to do that next year or something. But I'm really hoping, what's that? So I'm really hoping that you get the information. Parents, be open and talk to your children about these things. Because if you don't talk to them, somebody else will. All right. So children, I have one thing to show you and then we could go home. So smoking affects what? The main organ. Who wanted to be my helper? Jaden. Right, we have a lung here. Very nice. Not so? Very nice lung. Not so? Yes. Nice and healthy. So when you breathe in, what happens? Your lung is supposed to stand up. Right. No. All right. Stop. Come off. Come off. Right. So you are going to mimic like if you're taking a deep breath. So I just want you to press down. Hard. Thank you very much. You're seeing, right?
Difference with wheat.
Right. So you see, I don't have to put too much energy into it. It's expanding nicely. But as you can see, it takes long to deflate. So it ain't deflated yet. So I'm going to expand it, and then I'm going to count how long it takes to completely deflate, right? Okay, good. All right, count. Right. How many of you all can hold your breath for that long? Let's try. So you're holding your breath until this is clear, right? Anybody struggling? Yes, well, they're struggling. Anyway, so that is what a healthy lung does. It's easy to inflate, and then you're able to take time to deflate, right? And it's pink and nice and juicy and all that good stuff, right? Good.
Question, is that a real lung?
So this is not a human lung, right? Good. Right. So this is a lung that has been exposed to smoke, tobacco smoke, right? So we're gonna. Right. So how long did it take for the healthy lung to deflate? About 14 seconds, right? So we're going to see how long it takes for this one to deflate, right?
It did.
So this is what happens with your lungs when you smoke. It takes more energy for you to breathe, to pull in air. So while I just had to press down a little bit, I had to put a little bit more of my weight and effort into this. And by the time you breathe in, you have to breathe out. So a smoker, you would see them breathing. So imagine you trying to walk. And we have another lung, which is a lung exposed to weed. We ain't got that as yet. So we normally do the two comparisons because persons believe that when you smoke weed, this doesn't happen. But it's the same thing that happens. Because smoke, the nicotine gives you tar as well, but the smoke also affects you and your lungs. Right? So please, as far as possible, children, stay away from persons who are. And when you get to 18 years old and you can buy cigarettes, are you going to buy it? No, very good. All right. Thank you.
Kids, don't do drugs.
Any questions? You want to try? Go ahead. The necessary information, and I'm hoping that the next time we speak next year, we will look at how addiction affects the family and what you should do if a family member or friend is addicted to drugs. So thank you very much.
Let's give her a big round of applause, a big show of appreciation. Right, and on behalf of the members, we'd like to say a special thank you to Sister Sherman. It was so plain, and even the smallest child, I believe, understood, and we have the information. And now that we have the information, it is for us to do what? Use it, right? So, right, and also spread it, share it with your friends. And I learned a lot this evening. I'm so happy that I was here. So I have to look at my children more closely, right? And as parents, I like the point that the sister here made. Welcome, sister. About giving the information, right? We have to make sure that our children have the information, and they will have to make choices based on the information that they have, right? So the important thing about bringing this program is to give us information. So we can't say we didn't know, right? We can't say we didn't know, right? We off stream. We could turn off.